Finally, a weekly show where natives can babble on about their lives in show business, hosted by your favorite babblers, Rainy Fields, Tim Ramos, and Jim Ruel. It's the Hollywood Indians Podcast.
Welcome to the Hollywood Indians Podcast 1, and our special guest today, Rainy Fields.
Well, she's also co-host who will be. We're kind of rotated. I think. Well, whenever one of us isn't here, it's fine. The other two can pick it up and hopefully put all the gear together.
Cool. Keep the ball in play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk.
Yeah. So the idea that I had was to just have informal conversations with natives out here in Hollywood that are doing the entertainment business stuff, and just kind of have fun telling stories and, blast it out over the internet. And, natives can catch on to that. I don't think a lot of people know what the nuts and bolts are day to day, what we do. And they also don't know who we are, So it's a combination of kind of ways we can share our experiences and stuff.
I like it.
Yeah, I think the great thing is, each of us that come to L.A. Pursuing a career, whether it be in the entertainment industry or any industry, there's always that dilemma. How do we hold on to our sort of cultural sense? Meanwhile, doing this thing that's so unconventionally cultural in terms of, to make it in the industry, you got to rely on all these other techniques that a lot of us were taught, you don't do that. Looking people directly in the eye and being aggressive and in their face, because that's what it takes to make it. Unfortunately, that's just the rules of the game. We all know it. And what I hope we get out of this and pull out of people is these stories, these LA stories, urban Indian stories, to kind of, how do you balance all that? How do you make it work and still pursue what you're doing and keep your integrity and all that kind of stuff? So we've all been through the ringer. We've all had countless experiences, I'm sure, of dealing with all of this. So I'm excited to hear all of these things. And I know a lot of people in this town, urban Indians like myself, but I know there's a lot of new ones like Rainy Fields here that I want to hear your story. I want to hear friends of your people that we're all doing the same thing. Jim and I just met each other fairly recently and kind of talking about our experiences, and it's like, wow, you know what? More people need to hear this stuff. So this is great. Anyways, enough of rambling. Rainy, I want to open it up to you. I just met you tonight. So, that said, what brought you to town and let's just go from there.
What's the spiel?
Or before that,
Yeah.
What do you think about the podcast? What do you have? What's your vision for it? Yeah.
My vision?
Or what do you see?
I really want to give a platform for people to hear our voices, because I feel like a lot of people who are Native American don't always get heard. It's very much a very silenced culture. I hate to say it, but and to learn more about our culture and our history, because for me, I have the opposite situation or relationship with being Native, and that is it was something that I knew that I was. It wasn't anything that I was not immersed in the culture. I was very much raised in a town of 250 white people. Like, I never realized anything was different as far as, you know what I mean? Like my heritage or culture, anything was different, because that's how I grew up. I grew up in a farm town. And then when I moved to Albuquerque, I was like, oh, there are other people out here. Cool. Like, it was really eye-opening. And then going back to Illinois, because I would always go back during Christmas or summer to visit my family out there. And that's when I started noticing that I looked different. And that was just kind of like, oh, interesting. Okay. So for me, moving out to LA and being around all these urban Indians, it's so great for me because I've never had this kind of experience. I've never had this culture. I've learned so much about Native Americans within the past, I would say, 5 years that I never learned in school or from my family. So for me, it's cool. I love it.
That's great, and I think that's just one example of the diversity among all of us. I think we kind of get lumped into one category or compartment, and it's hard, like you say, to be heard and sort of speak outside that box when we're dealing with an industry that kind of has us in this category. But hopefully, with forums like this, it's changing. This is part of the change. So, yeah.
Another thing I forgot is for each of us to introduce ourselves.
That might be good.
Yeah.
What tribe we are, where we're from, maybe, and what we do. What's our main thing or things.
So my name is Rainey Fields. I grew up in Illinois and New Mexico, so both places. I moved out here about, I want to say 10 years ago to pursue acting. And I currently work as a waitress / bartender at a restaurant. So that's how I pay my bills. And I pursue acting.
That's great. Welcome to town, Rainey. All right.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Ramos. I'm Pomo. I grew up in Northern California. The area is Clear Lake, which no one's ever heard of, but it's 2 hours north of the Bay Area. So just north of wine country, Sonoma County, and all that kind of stuff. So beautiful landscape. The lake is great, but not much filmmaking going on up there. So, at some point, if you have an interest in this industry, you have to come to LA. And so I did a lot more years than Rainey. I came here actually 24 years ago now, and I'm dating myself, but that's how long it's been. And initially pursued acting, and I don't even really say I was a struggling actor, just struggling, going on auditions, pounding the pavement, but not much work, some extra work and whatnot, but the roles weren't coming. And I think that's when the focus started shifting. If you get on a set, you get that experience, and you know enough to know the director's the one that's their story, and sort of the film crew, and that includes the actors as well, are helping facilitate or tell that story. So I think that's when the light bulb went off, and I decided, you know what, I have a lot of interest in directing. And I think initially being a broadcast journalism major at San Diego State, writing was just a natural extension of that in screenplay writing, and just an evolution of the writing process. So that was there. And that's kind of what I've been doing since 98. So that's 18 years now. I've been an independent filmmaker, primarily short cultural documentaries, but, I have produced, directed feature film, and hopefully I can parlay that into some more directing work. And I'm back in town. I was away for a while. I know, Rainey, this town, it could really, really wear on you. And sometimes you just need to take a break. And I think my batteries are recharged. I'm back in town. And hopefully, a lot more things will happen this time around that from that experience, from these relationships that you build over years. And then, all of us get more experience. You get more seasoned with whatever you're doing. And I think now collaborating with a lot of people at this time is great. It's timely, and I'm happy to be back in town, back in LA. So,
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Jim, tell
you
us
wanna
your
mention
story. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I should probably mention my tribe. I'm Muscogee, Creek, and Cherokee, by the way. I'm just throwing that one out there.
And how long you been out in LA? Or
I think it's about 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
well, welcome
24.
to LA. Just want to back up what Tim said. Sorry.
Welcome. Thank you. It feels like a day I've been here.
I think you just meant welcome to the office.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you. Jim, tell us
Yes.
about yourself.
I'm Jim Ruel, Ojibwe, the Bay Mills Band, which is in Michigan on Lake Superior. But I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's where I was born and raised. And I do stand-up comedy. I've been doing stand-up comedy since the mid 90s. Before that, I did improv and just kind of juggling, yo-yo tricks. And I just kind of narrowed it down to stand-up. And then more recently, I've gotten back into improv, which is awesome, which
That's how Jim and I know each other.
Yeah, that's how we met through the Archery Native Voices improv classes, and then
Mayflower Welcoming Committee was formed that way.
But didn't we meet in
through-
the acting class before that here?
Oh, you're right.
At SCIC,
Yeah,
Inner Tribal
yeah.
Entertainment.
Our
when I
Native
first
American
started
acting class, so I can learn how to act like a native.
here. Yes. So,
It's true.
it was method acting.
Yeah.
I am native. I am native. Humble. I'm so humble and love earth and stuff.
You are correct. That's how we met.
And then we re-met.
We re-met,
Yeah.
reunited.
And I forget that a bunch of us were alums of that.
Yeah.
Went and did the improv.
How funny.
So yeah, I did improv for a while in the Midwest, and I noticed all my stand-up comedy. And I noticed all my stand-up friends either moved to New York or LA, and I kind of missed all these friends I'd made through stand-up. So I moved out here as soon as my little sister graduated from high school. I wanted to be her older brother, keep an eye on her till she got out. And then so I've been out here doing stand-up and then kind of merging into other stuff, filmmaking, acting, writing, this and that. And I still do stand-up, still love that. Tour around with a few other Native comedians with another Indian Uprising, and then also solo as myself. So that's good. Good job, Does anybody? What about if anyone maybe talk about a project you worked on in your career that you'd like to share? Like I know, Tim, you made a feature film.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it's called California Indian, and it's available on Amazon now. It did get picked up for digital distribution, so that was great. And it was, blood, sweat, and tears over a number of years, but it was awesome. We got to shoot it up at my reservation up in Northern California, so to bring kind of a, we had a small crew, but we had some people from LA that, were union people, and so it was really cool to see them come up to my hood, so to speak, and work and mingle among my community and stuff. So that was cool. It was something that, as time goes on, it was really kind of cool. I got to do that. I don't know if I'll ever do that again, just because now, it's sort of when you get financed and all that kind of stuff, who's ever putting up the money, you're, of course, open to filming at their location because that's just part of the deal. So we'll see where I end up. But I'm certainly going to try to push for another feature in Clear Lake. It's just a beautiful landscape. So, we'll see. As I've come back to town now here, there's, fortunately we're in a time, all of us now, that, these Hollywood studios, the TV outlets as well, there's these diversity departments. So I'm hoping, somewhere through there, I at least get an opportunity. And, that said, I never want to be labeled a Indian filmmaker or whatever, but I mean, if people call me that, that's fine. But myself, I'd like to branch out and someday direct something that has nothing to do with natives and just storytell, like a lot of people, a lot of directors get to do. Mm-hmm. So I look forward to that. But in the meantime, it's still pursuing the documentary filmmaking, reviving some work I've done in the past, which was corporate videos, industrial videos, and doing that again. So it's great just to be back in LA, back in the mix, and I feel like I've been on the sidelines for too long. So divorces will do that to you, but that's another topic entirely. We'll stay clear of that, but it feels good, Jim, to be back in LA. And
welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
We missed
thank you. Thanks.
How about a synopsis of California Indian?
Oh, so California Indian, it's a reunion redemption story set on an Indian reservation in Northern California. And that's pretty much it. The backdrop is the tribe is negotiating to bring a casino to the reservation. So it's kind of like the community's reaction to that. Some for it, some against, and that's sort of it in a nutshell.
Yeah. You had a named Native actor in it, right?
Yeah. Okay. Gary Farmer, we have in it, and Gary is great. And he was the name when we started production. Just give you a glimpse of the process. It took a little while before we got it completed. By the end of completing it, 3 of my cast had kind of surpassed Gary in terms of popularity. 2 of my actors, Gil Birmingham and Julia Jones, got on the Twilight franchise series. So, they kind of went from obscure sort of actors to, now they're branded with this Twilight thing. So
So you just made their careers. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And maybe held Gary Farmer back. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
so.
Kind of like Kevin Costner in Dances with Wolves. He pretty much, it was disaster after that.
Right.
It's horrible.
So we'll see. I would love to collaborate with everybody again and do something new.
And Chris Eyre was part of it too.
Chris Eyre was part of it.
Smoke Signals director. For the
Love that.
Yeah, Smoke Signals. And Chris and I go way back to the 90s when I was at UCLA Film School and he was at NYU Film School. So we met there in New York, and it's a friendship that's just kind of stayed and test of time, and kind of experiencing a lot of similar things. So we've always kept that bond, and it was great. Chris in name was always supportive of, like, yeah, use my name and we'll get meetings, we'll get this, that, and the other, and it was awesome. And just because of his busy schedule, he wasn't there hands-on a lot, but fortunately when we shot the film, he was in between projects, so we got him right up there firsthand, and it was awesome just to have his input and influence kind of to that degree. Didn't expect it, and it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but he was pretty stoked too. I mean, it's not like there's a million Native feature films being made, and you did most of the work, so he was able to just jump in and do his thing, and especially filling in his time in between other projects. So
it was great. I mean, that's one thing I think we're all supportive of, no matter whether you like the subject matter, agree with it, agree with the politics of the script. Doesn't really matter. It's a Native one, and we all kind of support, like, man, there's not enough to go around, so let's get this person to finish this thing. So that's a kind of general support, and it's great to have that, because there's strength, as we know, there's strength in numbers, and there's just not enough of us right now. So.
I was just going to say our numbers are a little low. So
yeah, very, very low.
Go to the gym and pump up a little.
Statistically low, yeah. So
1% and 2% of the population.
Right, 1% or something like that. Is that right?
We're the 1%ers.
Yeah, I did my part.
Yeah,
I reproduced.
You had a child.
I made baby.
I'll work on that someday. Not today.
No. Tim's got you. He made 2.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll count one of yours as mine then. Thanks. I'm good. I'll go adopt a kid now.
Wow. And how can people get themselves a copy, or how can they watch?
Oh yeah. So I did have a website at one time, but it's no longer active. But through Amazon, it's definitely, the DVD is available both. Well, it's available on DVD or to stream it live or instantly through Amazon Prime. So, yeah, either or. Those are outlets. That seems to be the most popular one. Everybody knows Amazon, so it's kind of.
Mm-hmm. Are there any underground servers we could stream it for free, or no? Just
kidding. It's funny. I do a Google search every now and again just to do it, and. It's funny, it comes up and says, watch California Indian for free, and there's always a link, and unfortunately it's a dead link, so no one's doing that, but it makes you wonder, yeah. It's just seeing that in print, watch it for free, going, oh,
nice.
No.
But I'm cool enough, they want to watch it for free.
Yeah.
Oh,
you want ready to go, or do you want me to go?
I say you go. You go.
Okay.
I gotta think.
I can't decide. I have two projects I really like. The first one was was my first stand-up television appearance, which was for the BBC show called The World Stands Up. And speaking of those diversity programs that you mentioned, I was involved with one through NBC called the Four Directions, I think. I think it was Four Directions Talent. Yeah, Four Directions Talent. It was sponsored by the Oneidas of New York and NBC
Ray
back in in 2001, I believe. Yeah, so we were the first year doing that. They had auditions all over the country and in Canada. I did the one in Toronto, and then later on they brought a bunch of us, like 20-some actors, comedians, to Turning Stone Casino in upstate New York, and then Oneida Reservation. And this was like right after 9/11, and then they picked about 10 of us to go to do an industry showcase in New York City. And it was going to be a longer stay there, but I think they just got us in and got us out so we wouldn't get
crazy.
asbestos or something. People were still walking around with the masks on and all that. But anyway, so that kind of got me involved with that. And then a couple years later, I did another NBC call. They did one just strictly for stand-ups, but of all various minorities were able to participate. So I did that in Chicago at the club there that I had a good relationship. They brought me down, and I did that. And then they picked 10 of us from there, about 10 from New York, and then 10 in L.A. Flew us, or drove you, if you were out in L.A., to the Laugh Factory in Hollywood. And we did a showcase there, and the folks from the BBC show were, their talent scout was checking people out there. And so within a year of that, then they flew me out to London to tape the special. And it was great. It was so, I'd never been overseas like that. I mean, I've traveled. I've been to Canada, and it's very exciting. As I mentioned, in Toronto for the big audition, which was exciting. They stopped us at the border, and they're like, "Where are you coming up here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a comedian. I have a show." And they're like, "Are you getting paid?" I'm like, "No, it's an audition." They're like, "Right." They were very suspicious at this point. They're like, "Well, do you have any props?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, let's search this car." Like, all right, you got me. There's rubber chickens in my glove compartment. And my dad was with me, and like, well, what's he doing here? It's like, he wanted to see Toronto. I don't know, man. That's all I got. But it was pretty amazing. The guy that produced the show in London was super cool. Took good care of, flew us out there, paid us, got to stay in London basically for free for 5 days. The cool dude, I was kind of nervous about the whole thing first time on TV, and I heard how, stressful it can be on set. People can be pretty uptight and yelling around, but they were just so nice, everyone in the crew and everything. And he shared, like, he'd come back to the hotel where all the comedians were staying and buy a few rounds of drinks for everybody. We'd just tell stories. And he worked as a crew on The Muppet Show when that was originally filmed in London. So that was like, oh my, Jim Henson was one of my heroes as a kid. So that was incredible. And I know probably 500 or 600 comedians. So I knew a lot of the comedians that were out there, but somebody didn't, from just all over the world, from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and of course, the British Isles, Irish, and a Welsh comedian. I couldn't understand a word he said when he was performing. I was like, whoa, that is a tough accent. And I was so nervous. So you do your set, and then they flash you this red light. They had a blinking red light at like 5 minutes. Then I had like 2 minutes to wrap up, or maybe it was 9 minutes. I forget exactly. But the comedian before me kept swearing, which is okay on British television, but he wanted to resell it back to the States and other places. So he's like, the producer's like watching this off stage in a monitor, and he's like ticked off and just kind of yelling to himself. He's like, "Oh, this is costing me thousands in editing, post." And I'm just sitting there next to him. I'm next, so I'm like, oh man, I better not screw up. So I'm doing my set, and I'm a little on edge. And one thing, when I get nervous, I can rush through my jokes. I rush it, So I go through all my bits. I timed it out to about 10 or 11 minutes, or about 10 minutes. And then I had like a few spare jokes in case I did the rush thing. I'd still have more jokes to fill the time. Well, I went through the regular jokes, no light. Did my extra jokes, no light. I like paused. I was like, oh, what else do I got? I kind of pulled a couple more jokes out of my butt and did those, and no light. And I was like, That's for me, thank you, bye. And walked off stage. I was like, what did I do? Did I talk that fast? I thought I totally messed up. I get off stage and they run up to me like, dude, we're so sorry, we forgot to time you. So I was like, I had this like total panic attack on
my
stage.
gosh.
Man.
And he even said later he had to edit out parts where I rose my arms because I was sweating so much.
Oh my god.
So next time I do TV, I'll have to wear a darker shirt.
And what about the English crowd? How do they get like when the jokes and the native jokes and stuff? Are they savvy to that? You know,
honestly, I didn't get a lot of laughs. But it was like nobody got laughs almost the whole time. And he was like, the crowds are really weird. They got the lights in their faces and the cameras. He's like, just perform like you're in front of a great audience where you get laughs. We'll supply the laughs. So I was totally comfortable with it. I knew where I was supposed to get laughs. These are jokes I've done, hundreds of times in comedy clubs. So I just smiled when I was ready for the laughs. And when I watched it eventually on TV, I was like, wow, look, it worked perfectly. Obviously, you're disappointed because you want the laughs every time, even when they tell you you're never going to get them. Because there were comics that got laughs, okay? But the other cool thing was one of my best friends in comedy came along with, so we got to fly out together. Kyle Kinane, I don't know if you know Kyle, but man, we started around the same time in Milwaukee, here in Chicago, so it's kind of like one little comedy community, so you get to know each other pretty well, and then a lot of folks moved out here to LA. And then so it's exciting when they finally aired it on TV, and I'm back in Milwaukee with my family, the debuting the show. And, you watch on cable and it's got the cable listings and then, click info and it says, the world stands up with so-and-so, Jim Ruel, so-and-so. And I show it to my dad and he looks at it and he goes, did you do that? Like, he thought I'd hacked the menu and just snuck my name in there. Like, no, Dad, I'm a big TV star now. So that was my first. The other one I don't want to talk too long, but I guess we can. It's a podcast.
You can
That's
talk.
the beauty of podcasts.
You can edit.
We're not on the clock. I had started then touring with some other Native comedians under various guises: Powell County Jam, Chiefs of Comedy, Mayflower Welcoming Committee, and I'm currently with another Indian Uprising. We're probably due to break up now. I don't know. Just kidding, guys. We're just stick it out. So that with the first group, the guy Mark Yaffe, who started that group, knew a producer with Showtime, and then the producers wanted to bring some other folks that had more experience, so they brought in Charlie Hill and a guy from Canada whose name I'm forgetting. It's on the back of the DVD anyway. So that was really exciting to perform with Charlie Hill in a TV special taped here in Hollywood. It was crazy because nobody knew if we could get people to come, because you got to fill like a 150 seat theater on a weekday at like 3 p.m, and we're like, this could be bad. They had like no confirmations leading up to it, but somehow somebody got a bunch of Indians to come and they packed the place and it was just rocking. It was really cool. And again, I had a pretty mediocre set. And the editor, the guy who edited it, the producer of it, he was an amazing editor, and he made me funnier than I was that night. And what threw me off, I was going to end on my signature Arnold Schwarzenegger, do a few different impressions, and the guy from Canada did a Schwarzenegger impression right before me. Like his set than my set, or I think there might have been one in between us, but I was like, I heard him do it, and I lost. I was like, okay, so I won't be doing that 3-minute segment of my 7-minute set. So I was up there, it was kind of a mess, but they did some editing magic and made me funnier. I can be funny, I just, in that occasion. But it turned out great, and then you can get that DVD from Amazon as well. And I think it might be streaming on Netflix. It was for a while. I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix. But yeah, I know I've ran into the guy. I'm forgetting his name. I feel like a jerk. But he was mentioning about maybe doing another one. So it's been a little while since that came out, a few years now. So hopefully We could do another one. There's a whole new batch of more Native comedians out there. So many. It's like a renaissance in Native stand-up right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could do a bunch of them, honestly. Yeah.
I like
So
it.
there's that.
Yay. All right. So I'm trying to think of some. My first one is a very non-native experience. It's so I got to assistant direct the play To Kill a Mockingbird with my theater company, which I'm a member of 2 different theater companies. Native Voices at the Autry, which is of course a Native American theater company, like amazing company, and then the production company, which is located in Hollywood. It's a small black box theater company that does a lot of dark work, very real, gritty, good stuff, like amazing theater. And we did To Kill a Mockingbird, and that's really close to me because one, I'm a sorority girl, and my Harper Lee was a member of my sorority, and a lot of her ideals and our ideals are put into that book. So it's kind of cool, just like the basic concepts of, you know, doing good and, you know, blah, 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 being a wonderful person, et cetera, et cetera. And to see kids at the age of like 7 and 8 and 9 really grasp those concepts just like warmed my heart to a whole nother level. Like, it made you see good in the world when you don't always see it. So like, to me, that was just such an awesome experience to just see them get it, especially like this day and age. This day and age, I feel like they just don't, it's not always there with the youth of today.
They're the worst.
Sorry, kids.
Millennials.
Back in my day, we were good. No, but I would also say another amazing experience I've had recently is with Native Voices at the Autry. We were learning about boarding schools and all of that comes with it, which I really had absolutely no concept of this happening. My mom went to Santa Fe Indian boarding school. Her experience was wonderful because it was at a time when it was wonderful and it was ran by the Native community.
Yeah.
So her experience was awesome and amazing, and I had no concept that there were boarding schools that were not this way. So that was super eye-opening.
You're
Little different agenda.
Are awesome. Yeah,
I was just
man,
like,
boarding schools.
what?
That Pratt guy was a genius.
It was seriously like when you were a little kid and you're learning about the Holocaust and you're just like, is this for real? It's that, like, you're like, where have I been living? Like, I've lived under a rock not to know this. Well, yeah.
They don't want to talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And it's so painful, I think, for natives that went through the dark times of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about going through PTSD and just, you know, like that one, the interviews of that, they said it was similar to interviewing the Holocaust survivors of World War II. And
yeah, it's just, sorry to totally kill the mood in this room right now.
no, you're right. I'm fine.
Just got really somber for a second. It was such a great experience to learn about all of this. And obviously there's still so much more to learn. But then a couple of our friends, because we all broke off into like groups and wrote plays about it. So a couple of us went to Sherman Indian School and got to interview a couple of the girls there and a teacher and talk to them about their experience now. So that was super, I mean, obviously it's a lot better, but like now they're struggling with food issues. And because of, I guess they get money from the government to help cover the cost of food. So due to, what is that called? It has to do with Obama's, I'm sorry. It's like the healthy kid type meal plan, but the portions are really small. Like they're just not getting enough to eat basically at the school.
They're probably like normal portions that we're not used to.
I mean, I'm a small person, but I eat a lot. Yeah. Like I don't know. Like you can't really regulate. At least
I know that's
for
when
me.
you're in high school though. You got those.
Yeah,
killer
your metabolism
metabolisms.
is usually like out of control. Like you gotta eat.
Yeah.
So they struggle with some food issues and all that good stuff. So, but it's a lot better experience for them now than what it would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it's run by natives.
Yes.
Under the BIE still, actually. So it's.
Yeah, and a lot of them choose to go there. I would say most of them choose to go there. So yeah, those are my.
And you want to talk about a little more about the Native Voices of the Autry? Like, do you know
sure.
like the history of it, or kind of like, or just tell what it is, really?
So Native Voices of the Autry is a Native American theater company. It's the only equity theater company that's geared towards developing Native works, really employing Native actors, all about Native empowerment here.
So equity means basically it's a professional.
Correct.
Equity,
Sorry, it's a professional.
union,
Yeah,
they get
it's
paid,
legit.
It's big time.
You get paid. It's big time.
No more serving tables for you.
Theater's
you are so
equivalent
set.
to SAG. Equity,
Yeah,
is that
that's basically
Yeah.
what it would be like. Yeah. And we're really into developing our own material right now.
Yeah.
And of course, they outreach all throughout the United States. They're always calling for different playwrights, like doing a lot of different competitions to get people involved and create that community. It's a pretty amazing thing. And it's interesting because I guess the Met is the only other, what is it called? Museum. Sorry, brain fart. The only other museum that has a theater company affiliated with it that I know of anyway. And just like, I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool.
It's big time.
Right? I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing.
So you can like go to New York. Oh, you guys do that too?
Yeah, we do that too. Yeah, we do it at the Autry. So yeah, it's a great experience, and it's such a great network of people. And for me to get to meet people who are of my culture, which is awesome and amazing, and to actually be surrounded by people who look like me is such a unique experience. And I know that sounds kind of weird maybe to other people, but I don't know, like
That's kind of the Native experience, and in LA, it's hard it can be hard to find other Natives, and especially in the entertainment industry, there's very few ways for us to meet up and get to know people.
mm-hmm.
So like the Autry is one of the few things I know of that are like that.
Yeah, so like for me, it creates that warm fuzzy feeling. Yet again, I'm all about that, but yeah, but yeah, that's definitely opened my eyes to a new world, which I'm happy about.
Cool.
Mhm. Yeah. Anything else?
This is an awesome story.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Rain.
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and cut it off right here for now, folks. This is going to be a two-parter, so stay tuned for the next episode where we will continue our conversation.